Morning guys, it's Ian from SS8000 Cars, and today on the drive we have the Porsche Panamera 4S. Now, I particularly like the styling on the new Panamera. Now, we had a Panamera Turbo in 2010 and 2011, and I thought there are a few styling challenges on that car. Notably, perhaps the most were the rear lights. I think what they've done is they've tidied up the styling to really present what was always a very cohesive design, but it just didn't quite finish itself off. And here, I think they've done exactly what was needed to make this car look really special. Now, this particular one has a number of styling parts on it, notably the Sport Design Pack, which gives you a new front spoiler, which is deeper and a little bit further protruded to the front, and then the black round the lights and round the air intakes underneath the number plate. It gives you the side skirts, which are more pronounced than in the standard car. You probably see that there, and a new diffuser, although in truth they're not really going too heavily on a serious diffuser like you have in the Speciale or the 675 McLaren. Now, particularly they've tidied up the rear. Now, I've got the rear wing up, but I think overall the new lights and the way that the lights come right across the rear of the car, all this lights up during the night, and then you've got the Porsche badge actually centrally located, and Panamera 4S at the bottom, I think, you know, lends itself to give the car quite an aggressive rear end, but also neat and tidy from a stylistic viewpoint. Now, this one has the 21-inch alloy rims, and I think that makes a tremendous difference. The largest rims you could get on the old Panamera were 20-inch, and they always look very slightly undersized, to be truthful, whereas I think the new one absolutely perfect, make the car look aggressive. Now, I've got the suspension in its lowest setting, because what I found is in its lowest setting, although it puts the suspension into medium rather than soft, it still rides the bumps very well, and it goes over the speed bumps in London without any complaint whatsoever. So I think from a looks viewpoint, it actually looks really aggressive sat down on the top of the tyres. It was, as usual, up in London with me last night, and I felt it really performed well. I didn't feel that the size was an impediment in any way to driving normally and threading it through quite tight London streets, and less so in fact than the Range Rover Discovery Sport that we tested recently, where you can't really see the end of the bonnet or the end of the haunches on the Discovery Sport, and it made it feel quite large when threading it through narrow country lanes. Well, I didn't feel that last night at all with this. Really felt that it was just right, and it's very comfortable. Very comfortable machine. You could cross continents in this machine. Now, having tested the S-Class Coupe about 6 to 9 months ago, I have to say that you do feel the ripples in the road on the Panamera 4S, no question, although again, as I said to you, I've got it in the medium setting rather than on its softest setting. And it's not really an S-Class in the way that it handles. I think that the way that the S-Class and the S-Class Coupe absorb the bumps is really second to none, and I'm not sure there's anything else out there today that competes with that. But as long as you like to feel the road underneath you, so you know exactly where the car is and how it's going round the corner, then this may well be the perfect compromise for you, because as I'll show you in a second, it has tons of room inside. Now, this one, as I said, has the Sport Design Pack. It has the black round all the window edging, and it has the black door handles, and obviously the black center rims, which I must admit, when contrasted with the GT metallic silver which this car is in, I think looks rather good. Driving. so you feel the bumps in the road, but they don't throw you offline. It's lovely actually. Came along here in the Speciale only a few months ago, and it was bouncing me all over the place, but this is lovely, and its direction change is good as well. You know, it doesn't get thrown too easily when you come over the bump. The traction control comes on occasionally if you're really shifting, but it's just got a nice feel to it, and you can really make pretty quick progress without going too mad. It's 60 along here, by the way, guys, which is quite fast enough. It's one of the few roads actually in this part of the world which is 60. Most of the rest of them are 40s and 50s, with, I'd say, an emphasis on the 40s. I'd like to take you inside the car now, because actually I think in this particular car the inside's almost as important as the outside, and it has been completely redesigned from the previous model. So you can see everything is touch. So the center console, whereas before there was a long center console with loads of buttons on them, but I suppose you could see clearly where they were all marked. This has a huge infotainment screen and satellite navigation screen in the center, which literally comes from here to there. Probably the largest I've seen in a car. This has full leather, so that's leather on the doors, leather on the dash, leather on the center console, obviously leather on the seats, and these are the 14-way adjustable comfort seats, and they are mighty comfortable. This one has also got the carbon fiber pack, which you have carbon fiber down the dash, in the door inlays, and round the dials in the binnacle in front of the steering wheel. It also has a slightly larger version of the 918 Spider steering wheel, which I think is one of the best designed steering wheels on production today. Everything is very solid in this car. I mean, you see, this does not have the soft closed doors. You have to give them quite a thud. Come round to the back. Automatic boot release system, so you just press the button and it opens up for you. Good amount of space. Got a luggage cover over the rear so people can't see in, although this does have the privacy glass as well, and it's a decent size. I mean, the only thing I would say about this, having travelled around Europe with 4 of us in a Panamera, the boot is a little shallow, so it's quite difficult to get 2 cases on top of each other, which you do in some. So the X3, the boot is not quite as long as the boot in the Panamera, but it's deeper, so as a consequence of that you can get 2 pieces of luggage on top of each other, quite big pieces. However, you know, it's practical. This is actually quite a bumpy road, and we're coming over it at 61, and it's just lovely, and then into the corners, and there's just no roll, so it doesn't pitch you at all. It has you right. Okay, let's jump in. It'd be nice to get out of the rain. Actually, let's come into the, and it's a nice driving environment. I'd go as far as saying possibly the nicest driving environment on the road. I absolutely love it. Now, I'm no great fan of touch screens, because I think sometimes they can be a little fiddly to go into the right menu when you're actually driving. What I love about this is look at the center screen. I mean, that is huge, and you can also pull it up here as well, which is nice. I just whack into, so that's nice. You've got lots of controls on the central screen actually to let you have a play. Oh, that's rather smart, but it's this that I like. I think that's just tremendous. And then in the center here, as you can see, has come up you've got your main gear selector here, which is obviously in park at the moment, but there's a little button on the front here that you just push up, and now we're in drive. But I'll put it back here. and then you see everything is touch sensitive here. So you got your heated seat. At least with the heated seats, unlike with the McLaren, for example, you don't have to go into a menu like the McLaren. You've got to go into the ventilation and climate control menu, and then pretty much everything else is controlled from up here. So if we go into drive, for example, it immediately gives you all the settings available on the car, both in the chassis and the driving settings themselves. So your handling settings, normal, sport and individual, tend to have it in normal for what we have. So I don't want too aggressive changes. And then the chassis I have in sport, because I like the idea of having the air spring height in low. Got media, home. Okay, you've got, it's like a window screen to an extent, and it does seem slightly strange to me that your spoiler up and down button is here. So I rather like, I think that is really quite smart. Really nice environment. I think it's really smart. And you can see at the front we retain the traditional 911 and Panamera dials. So you've got 5 dials, and broadly they can be configured the way that you want them. The only thing that's fixed, or appears to me as fixed, is the center dial. That looks like that is not configurable. Shows you the miles per hour that you're doing, and obviously shows you which gear you're in. Whether you're in manual, you obviously have the manual changes at the back of the steering wheel, attached to the steering wheel itself. And then over here on the right hand side of the rev counter, you have various information from the temperature of the engine to where you are with your fuel and various bits. But you can also have tire pressures, and you've got G-force. I don't know how much I'd use that, but some people might find that of interest, where you are at any one point in time. And then back to the one that I tend to have it on, which is your computer information. But I don't know, that's quite nice too. And then here normally you would have this in clock mode, analog clock, which I quite like. So all in all, a really lovely place to be. It's just, I'm one of these people that I love the driving environment, because you know, you actually spend most of your time in here. You're not really standing outside looking at the car very much, especially when you become familiar with it. I think much more time is spent looking at the controls, and this is just a lovely place to be. All right guys, well I think this actually gives us a reasonable feel. I just turn the camera around to the back. The rear chairs are individually sculptured. It's a 4-seated car. I think those chairs look really comfortable, and there's plenty of room in the rear. And we are talking about Merc S-Class levels of rear room. Okay guys, it's Ian from SS8000 Cars signing off for the moment. Please make sure you subscribe. Thanks a lot.